Your heart races, your palms sweat, and suddenly you can't remember a single word you were about to say. Sound familiar? If so, you're not alone. Fear of public speaking, also known as stage fright, affects millions of people worldwide. But why does this happen? Why do we get so nervous about standing in front of others and speaking our minds? Today, we're diving into the psychology behind stage fright and why public speaking triggers fear in so many of us. Stick around to find out what's really going on in your brain when the spotlight hits. Stage fright, or glossophobia, is the fear or anxiety associated with speaking in front of an audience. It's one of the most common fears, with some studies showing that up to 75% of people experience some level of anxiety when it comes to public speaking. Whether it's giving a presentation at work, delivering a speech at a wedding, or speaking in class, the symptoms are often the same: racing heart, dry mouth, shaky voice, and sometimes even complete mental blankness. But what causes such intense fear? It turns out the answer lies deep within our evolutionary psychology and the way our brains are wired. To understand why public speaking can be so terrifying, we need to look at the origins of human behavior. Our ancestors lived in small social groups, and survival depended on being accepted by the group. Rejection from the group could mean being left alone, vulnerable to predators and other dangers. In those days, being an outcast was a literal threat to survival. Fast forward to today, and even though we no longer face wild animals or survival in the wilderness, our brains still react as if public speaking could lead to rejection, which feels like a life or death situation. This is why standing in front of an audience can trigger the body's fight or flight response. When you stand in front of others, you may feel like you're being judged, and your brain sees that as a threat, setting off a cascade of fear-based reactions. Your body floods with adrenaline, making you feel jittery, nervous, and ready to either fight or flee, even though you're just giving a speech. One of the key players in this fear response is a small part of the brain called the amygdala. The amygdala acts like an alarm system, detecting threats and activating the body's fight or flight response. When you're about to speak in public, the amygdala may interpret the situation as dangerous, even though there's no real physical threat. Psychologists believe that the fear of public speaking is a social fear, and it's rooted in our deep need for social approval. When we speak in front of others, we worry about being judged, embarrassed, or rejected. The amygdala responds to this fear by sending signals to the rest of the body, which is why you feel all those physical symptoms, like sweaty palms, a pounding heart, and shaking hands. But why does public speaking trigger this reaction more than other social situations? The answer lies in how we perceive the spotlight. Have you ever felt like all eyes are on you, and every little mistake you make is magnified in the minds of others? That's a phenomenon called the spotlight effect. It's the tendency to overestimate how much attention people are paying to us. When we speak in public, we often believe that every word we say and every gesture we make is being scrutinized by the audience. This belief can intensify the fear of public speaking, making us hyper-aware of our actions and increasing anxiety. In reality, most people in the audience aren't focusing on you as much as you think. Psychologist Dr. Thomas Gilovich conducted research on the spotlight effect and found that people often think others notice their mistakes and imperfections far more than they actually do. Understanding this can be a relief. Your audience is probably not as critical of you as you imagine. Another major contributor to stage fright is the fear of failure. When we speak in public, we may worry about messing up, forgetting our lines, or stumbling over words. This fear can be especially intense for perfectionists, who set extremely high standards for themselves. They feel that anything less than flawless is unacceptable, and this pressure can make public speaking feel overwhelming. According to Dr. Martin Antony, a psychologist and expert in anxiety disorders, the fear of public speaking often comes from a deep concern about making mistakes and being judged negatively. For many people, it's not just about speaking, it's about avoiding embarrassment and maintaining a sense of competence in front of others. Perfectionism can amplify this fear because it creates unrealistic expectations. The belief that your speech must be flawless can paralyze you before you even begin. However, embracing imperfection and accepting that mistakes are a normal part of public speaking can significantly reduce anxiety. For some people, stage fright is part of a broader issue known as social anxiety disorder. Social anxiety is a fear of being judged or humiliated in social situations, and public speaking is often one of the most feared scenarios for people with this condition. Dr. Richard Heimberg, a leading researcher on social anxiety, explains that individuals with social anxiety often experience intense fear in performance situations because they feel they are constantly being evaluated by others. In public speaking, this fear can become magnified. People with social anxiety might worry excessively about how they will be perceived, leading to physical symptoms like trembling, blushing, or even panic attacks. For those with social anxiety disorder, overcoming the fear of public speaking often requires both psychological strategies and sometimes professional help. Another psychological factor that contributes to stage fright is negative self-talk. When we engage in public speaking, many of us fall into the trap of telling ourselves things like, "I'm going to mess up," "everyone will think I'm stupid," or "I'm not a good speaker." These negative thoughts fuel anxiety and make us more nervous. According to Dr. Albert Ellis, a pioneering cognitive psychologist, our thoughts directly influence our emotions and behaviors. If you go into a speech with a mindset full of fear and self-doubt, your body will react accordingly. This is why reframing your thoughts can be a powerful tool for reducing stage fright. Instead of focusing on potential failures, remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes and that most people in the audience are rooting for you, not against you. One of the most effective ways to combat the fear of public speaking is through cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. CBT is a form of therapy that helps individuals identify and change negative thought patterns and behaviors. It's been shown to be highly effective for treating various forms of anxiety, including public speaking anxiety. CBT works by helping people challenge irrational fears and develop more realistic, positive thoughts. For example, instead of thinking, "I'm going to fail," you might learn to replace that thought with, "I've prepared well, and even if I make a mistake, I'll recover." By changing the way you think about public speaking, you can reduce the fear response and feel more confident in front of an audience. Now that we've covered the psychological reasons behind stage fright, let's talk about some practical strategies you can use to overcome it. Preparation and practice. One of the best ways to reduce anxiety is to be well prepared. The more familiar you are with your material, the more confident you'll feel. Practicing in front of a mirror, recording yourself, or even rehearsing in front of friends or family can help you feel more comfortable with your speech. Visualization. Before stepping on stage, try visualizing yourself delivering a successful speech. Sports psychologists often use visualization techniques to help athletes perform better, and the same concept can apply to public speaking. Picture yourself speaking clearly, confidently, and engaging the audience. This can help reduce anxiety and build positive expectations. Breathing exercises. Deep breathing is a simple yet powerful way to calm your nerves. Before and during your speech, practice deep breathing exercises to slow your heart rate and reduce the physical symptoms of anxiety. Breathe in slowly through your nose, hold for a few seconds, and then exhale slowly through your mouth. This helps signal to your brain that it's safe to relax. Focus on the message, not yourself. One way to shift your focus away from fear is to concentrate on the message you're delivering, rather than worrying about how you're coming across. Remember, the audience is there to hear what you have to say. They're not judging every little detail of your performance. By focusing on delivering value to your listeners, you can redirect your attention away from your anxiety. Desensitization. Gradual exposure to public speaking situations can help reduce fear over time. Start small by speaking in front of a few close friends or practicing in low-stakes environments. As you become more comfortable, gradually increase the size of your audience. This helps desensitize your brain to the fear response associated with public speaking. So, why do we fear public speaking? The answer lies in our evolutionary instincts, the way our brains respond to perceived social threats, and the pressure we place on ourselves to perform perfectly. But the good news is that by understanding the psychology behind stage fright, we can take steps to overcome it. Whether it's through practice, reframing negative thoughts, or using relaxation techniques, public speaking doesn't have to be something we dread. Next time you're preparing for a speech, remember, you're not alone in feeling nervous. With the right tools and mindset, you can transform that fear into confidence and deliver a message that truly resonates with your audience.